Good afternoon, everyone. That's like my time. And thanks for coming. Thanks for showing interest in the business of Shea. I'll have to start by asking the question. How many of us have seen shea butter before? You've used it? It's impacted your life? Yes, because it's impacting people. Oh yeah, so I have a lot of people in the room doing that, and I'm really proud of that. All right, I'll be talking about the business of Shea, empowering rural women in northern Nigeria. And I'll be talking about my projects. I did a project in the FCT to help rural women. And I also ran a few projects with my colleagues in Niger State. Niger State is the largest state in Nigeria. And of course, it has the largest shea tree cover in Nigeria. And the shea business is thriving in Niger State. They started it, they're like pioneers. So we also borrowed a lot of best practices from Niger State. And GIZ was a very strong partner to that in Niger State, and they also supported the project that I also ran. So I'll be talking about them from time to time. Right, okay, let's see. Okay, my mouse has refused to move. For those that are familiar with the shea tree, thank you. I want to be sure my mouse is working. This is the shea tree. And the shea tree has seeds. These are the fruits of the shea tree. It's also called Vitellaria paradoxa. That is the botanical name of shea. Although a lot of people don't know it as this. So if you mention Vitellaria paradoxa to people, they're just wondering, what exactly are you talking about? So it's just good to just say shea, the shea tree, all right? And it has fruits that resemble large plums. And these plums are being processed. That's what are being processed to the butter we talk about today. So I'll be showing you more pictures as we move on. The shea tree is found in Africa, the Sahel regions, and so it's indigenous to Africa. It's actually indigenous to Africa. So when you come to America, to Europe, and you see shea butter in different cosmetics, know that the roots of shea, the shea butter is actually from Africa, all right? And in Africa, it's been used for centuries. I mean, centuries. Years upon years upon years. Our greatest grandmothers have used shea butter, and they've handed it over to generations upon generations. And they've used it for cooking, they've eaten it as oil. Shea butter has been used for cosmetics, has been used to cure a lot of things in Africa. The shea tree itself is called a wonder tree, really because every part of that tree is useful. The bark of the tree, the leaves have been used for medicines for years on end. And then we talk of the butter that is being used to cure a lot of things. So the tree itself is a powerful tree. And another part of the tree is that a lot of people in Nigeria, for example, they cut these trees and use it as furniture. It's very good for furniture. So it also shows that this tree is endangered, actually. And I'm going to talk about that also because I saw that happening in the course of my project. It's being cut down to make doors, for firewood. It's a very good combustible wood, I tell you, and people also prefer to use it. Right. The shea tree is found in Africa, like I mentioned, and it's found in 20 countries. I listed some of the countries. Some of our countries are there. Benin, Burkina Faso, Cameroon, Central African Republic, Chad, Ethiopia, Ghana, Guinea-Bissau, Cote d'Ivoire, Mali, Niger, Nigeria, Senegal, Sierra Leone, South Sudan, Sudan itself, Togo, Uganda, Democratic Republic of Congo, and Guinea. So they are the parts of Africa that have the shea tree. I've just spoken to my Malian friend there, and she's like, yeah, she has tons of shea butter at home right now. So we are planning to get some after this program. Mali and Nigeria, they're like the highest producers of shea right now. The facts about the tree. The tree starts bearing its first fruit when it's 10 to 15 years old. Let me also mention that the shea tree is a wilderness crop. So it grows in the wild. So it's not that somebody planted, it just grows in the wild. It's there in the forest there. And the women just go there and pick the fruits. Now, so the tree starts bearing its first fruit when it's 10 to 15 years. And food production is attained when the tree is about 20 to 30 years old. So the gestation is really a long period. But after it matures, it can continue to produce nuts for the next 200 years. So in some of those forests that you see the tree, some of them have been there for ages. So some people just grew up to meet it there. It's been there forever, and it's serving them for up to 200 years. And that is why when we have to start cutting shea trees, it becomes a problem. Because a tree that's been there for 150 years, somebody just comes overnight and cuts it down. And look at the period of growing of maturity. It takes a whole generation to still watch a new tree grow. So it's really something that needs a lot of advocacy and finding alternatives to the use of the shea tree. And again, the fruit takes 4 to 6 months to ripen. So once it starts flowering, it takes up to that. And the average yield is about 15 to 20 kilograms of fresh fruits per tree, with optimum yields up to 45 kilograms. And then each kilogram of fruit gives about 400 grams of dry seeds. So we are looking at a ratio of 3 to 1 here. So if you have a kilogram of fruit, by the time you make it into the dry seeds, you're getting just about 400 grams from it. And then by the time you even start processing it again to butter, it just gets lighter and lesser, really. So if the women are told to provide maybe 1,000 tons of butter, for example, you know how much nuts they have to pick. So that's why the business of Shea requires numbers of women, lots of women picking those nuts so that they can get to that target if they really want to achieve so much. And in recent years, the Shea tree has gained its popularity as an economic tree because it's been put to use in countries, both local and international. And some of us can attest to that fact. It's very rich in vitamin A and E. And I think that's the even reason why people use it a lot for skin care. So that's extremely important. Now back to Nigeria. We have about 18 states or 19 states in Nigeria that grow Shea trees. I mentioned earlier that Niger is like the highest. That's the Niger, that's the landmass of Niger here. We have, most of the states are in the north, north central, northeast, northwest, and upper north. This is where I live. That's the FCT, the federal capital. And FCT has Shea trees because FCT was carved out of Niger State. So the federal capital was Lagos originally. But when the new capital was moved to the north, it was Niger State that we had to borrow land from Niger State to set up the FCT. So that accounts for why they're actually Shea trees also in FCT. And we have about 3 local governments out of the 6 that also has the Shea trees. We have Bauchi, Jigawa. That's just what I would just give for now. And like I mentioned earlier, Nigeria is the largest producer of shea nuts. But in terms of exports, we are the least. And we are coming to talk about that. Why is it so? Now, as much as we produce so much in Nigeria, very little is packaged, very little is certified. People just sell informally, like our mothers have always known how to do it. They just put it in small bowls in the market, and people just come and buy it there. So that's the way it's been. And quality is a big issue for shea butter in Nigeria. There has really been no standards for a very long time. So the women just treat it the way they've always known their mothers to teach them how to do it. And so quality becomes an issue. I was in Ghana for the Global Shea Alliance conference in 2010, yes. And I really wanted to know why Nigerian shea was not part of, why Nigeria was not an exporter of shea, really, because of all of these facts. And it was given to us some of, the traditional methods, what were the bad sides, what were the things we needed to improve when we get back home. And really that was what inspired the project I started on. Because for me, I felt, how can Nigeria be producing so much? You are like the first. And then when it comes to exports, you are just nowhere to be found. And for me, I saw a gap in that. And I felt, fine, if quality is the problem, then somebody has to help out in this matter. Somebody has to help to develop this quality. And so that was really what initiated the project I'm going to present to you in a couple of minutes. Of course, quantity was also another problem. Because we also needed a lot of women in this business of shea. Because if there were orders, then we need a lot of women to pick nuts and to process it properly. So we also needed to solve that problem of getting women involved in their numbers and letting them know the implication of participating in this industry. That was also absolutely important. Pricing was another problem that was brought out in that conference. Most of our women, the way they price their products, they don't even know much about pricing. That's the truth. Financial literacy, not so much. Because there's a lot of work in this shea to produce that 1 kilogram of shea. There's a lot of work. And until you begin to show them how they can price so that they can get at least value for all their efforts, then it will be futile. Because some of them actually left it at some point because they felt it was not really worth their while. But you can look at it here that shea butter is a luxury in some countries. And then you women don't even understand it. There must be information here. There must be communication. Somebody has to show them the importance of some of these things. So also that's birthed this project. Now, this is shea in the bowl. Those are the nuts. In Nigeria, we call it, we have 3 major tribes. We have the Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba. In Yoruba, they call shea ori. I realized that when I started doing this project and I talked to people about shea, they're like, what is shea? Then somebody saw it with me one day. I said, oh, ori? Is ori you're talking about? I'm like, yes. She's always known it as ori all her life. So as shea butter, she's just like, what's shea butter? And then she saw it, oh, ori. I use ori now. My mother used ori for us. I said, okay, so that's what you know. In Igbo language, okuma, in Hausa, kade. So you may hear people talking about kade. Kade is very popular. Ori is even so popular in Nigeria. A lot of our women use it. Now, the world's biggest international markets for shea butter is Europe and North America. The Netherlands have been very active in the Global Shea Alliance. They come every year because that is where they make contact with producers. They're in the forefront of imports of shea butter to their country. And they use it a lot here for cocoa butter equivalent, because even the EU has permitted that shea butter be used as cocoa butter equivalent, and improver in chocolate and other confectionaries. So shea butter also gained some popularity in this industry, confectionery, in confectionaries, and is used in margarine. For some of us that have seen it before, yes, it looks like it's hard butter, kind of. But of course, the Sudan shea butter is a bit softer, because I saw the Sudan shea butter when I went to Ghana. It was really soft, very nice, and their creams were excellent. In fact, I chatted the whole box of theirs particularly. So it's also soft. It's like butter to an extent, so it's also used for some of these things. I know some of us don't like shea butter because of smell. How many of us don't like the smell? Some people don't. Like that woman at the back says she doesn't like it. Some people don't like it because of smell. So part of the project to address some of those things, and I'll come there in a couple of minutes. Now, this was the FAO gave us this statistics in 2008, and these statistics actually gave us like a turning point to make a decision to develop this sector. If you look at in Nigeria, at 425,000 metric tons of production in this 2007, 2008, and in terms of exports, we only had 45,000. That was really low. Our area harvested was 250,000 hectares. So this was more or less like a turning point, and we are very excited that even the government of the day, the Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Trade and Investment, they are putting shea butter as a forefront subject now, that we have to develop it. So you can even just Google it online. You see newspaper stories about it, that they want to develop the shea sector and see how we can help our women and empower them. So these are also very important things. Now, in Africa, shea butter is called women's gold because it's really precious to them. These old women have traded in this thing for years, for ages past and ages to come. They've sold it in the market. They've used it for their babies when they were growing. They fed their children with it. They've traded it for money. Shea butter is just a woman's gold, really, in Africa. And that is absolutely important. I put this name here because in French it's called karité. So some of us too may be wondering, shea is also called karité. So you can get to some places, you know, okay, you're familiar with the word. All right. So it's also called karité for some of us that are, but it's called women's gold in Africa because it's just so precious. Some of us traveled miles to come here. We still carry the shea butter in our bags because of how important it is. All right. Now, I'll show you a video shortly, but let me also mention that because they are nuts that drop from a tree, women have to go to the fields to pick the nuts. And most of our communities, because of the developments that's not really, development is moving steadily to these rural communities. There are no good roads in some places. Sometimes they have to walk distances and all that. And these are some of the challenges we saw. But for ages, women have just been used to doing their things this way. So even if it didn't show up, they will still continue to do it the same way anyway. They'll go to the field, they pick the nuts, and they put it in bowls on their heads and come back home with it, and then they start the processing. This is one of the women in the community I worked with. Sorry, we just had to snap her. And she was really posing for the camera, really. But this was really nice. But this is the way it is. With the baby on her back, she's carrying her nuts, and she's taking it home to process. So this is part of the tedious things that we see. Now, while I was working on this presentation, I visited the American Shea Butter Institute because there's a place called the American Shea Butter Institute in the US here that you can actually visit. You can go online and find out about them. They also set standards for shea butter for America, imports to America. So for some of us that may be interested, you may look up the American Shea Butter Institute, and that could help you in maybe contacting a processor in Nigeria or in Mali or in Ghana and set this kind of, the standards you want. Because they set grades. Shea butter has grades. You have grade A, B, C, D. All those are standards that have been set by different importers. And usually they dictate that when they want to import from other countries. But here on the site, I got 21 reasons. 21 reasons to use shea butter. And this is from American Shea Butter Institute. So you have not started using it, you better start using it now. It's used for dry skin, skin rash, skin peeling after tanning, blemishes and wrinkles, itching skin, sunburn, shaving cream, skin wounds, skin cracks, tough or rough skin, feet, hands, and elbows, cold weather, I've seen a lot of my friends, they do this a lot when it's cold weather, even back home, they put this on their kids, on the chest of their children so that they don't catch cold, and they don't catch cold. Even when you have nasal congestions, I have people that actually just rub it on and they don't, it just clears their, and I'm wondering, this thing doesn't have menthol or anything, menthol, how come? It's just a wonder to me, actually. So cold weather has been one thing that's, frostbite, now the winter is coming. Stretch mark prevention during pregnancy. A lot of our women don't want stretch marks. We hate it, we just hate it. So if you hate it so much, this is something you can also use. Insect bites, healthy skin generally, muscle fatigue, aches and tension. So you see athletes using shea butter really because sometimes they have tension on their muscles, their tendons and all of that. Before and after strenuous exercises, skin allergies, eczema, dermatitis and all of that. It's amazing. Sometimes I think about this product. Sometimes I feel it's overrated, but seriously it's not. There's a little cousin of mine that a growth was coming out of her hand sometime. And she showed me and I said, what did you do? What are you going to do about it? She didn't even know what to do. And the next time I saw her, she said, somebody just said, put shea butter on that place. The next time I saw her, the thing had disappeared. And I was wondering, what about this shea butter? I don't get it. That's all she used. She didn't want to take it to a doctor to show you how wonderful this is. So I'll still refer you back to the American Shea Butter Institute to read more and talk about that. Now, one question still holds, because I remember when I first started this project, I saw the butter, and I saw the nut, and I saw the paste. I was wondering, how did this fine butter come out of this black paste? And I think it's important for me to show you this video so that you appreciate how those things are done.
The shea nut tree grows in sub-Saharan West Africa, where the people of this region have been using the nut to create shea butter for generations. To produce shea butter, the nuts must first be collected from the wild and the fleshy pulp removed from around the shell. The nut is then boiled and the kernel removed and dried in the sun. After the nuts are fully dried, they are carefully hand-sorted to remove any black nuts. This is a very important step. If the black nuts are not removed, the final product is filled with impurities. So after sorting, the nuts are washed to remove any remaining dirt. Then they are laid out to dry under the strong equatorial sun. Even during the washing and drying process, the women continue to hand sort the nuts, one of the key reasons they produce such high-quality shea butter. The nuts are then ready for their first round of crushing. The women use a mill to break the nuts into small bits, which they then roast over a low fire. This step requires special skill, as the heat of the fire, speed of turning, and roasting time must be balanced to produce an evenly and well-roasted product. The roasted bits are then ground to a thick brown paste, which will then be kneaded for up to an hour. During kneading, the paste begins to change, becoming lighter in color and consistency. When the paste begins to slide off the woman's hands, they know the kneading process is nearly finished. Then they call a helper to bring cold water. The cold water is poured on the whipped paste, and almost miraculously, the shea butter quickly separates and rises to the top of the bowl. The shea butter is then skimmed from the top and boiled down into an oil. The oil is boiled, left to cool, and then filtered to remove any remaining impurities. At this point, the women take another extra step to produce a more desirable butter. They constantly stir the oil as it solidifies. This gives the shea butter a creamy texture, rather than the grainy, crystallized feel of unstirred butters often found on the market. The women take great pride in the shea butter they produce, for it reflects not only their expertise, but also the extra care they take to provide a consistently pure and smooth product for the shea butter market.
Right. So that's the making of shea butter. Can you now see that the butter comes from some really brownish, coffee-looking thing. And there's a whole lot of procedures that go into that. Let me also mention that the kneading process is one very tedious one. You notice that the woman said you'll be kneading for like an hour until, for us that bake cake, we whip our cream and the whipping machine just does the old magic. But they use the hands and they're there. And sometimes this place it's just really painful. So I also understood part of these things. Also for the crushing parts, where they had the machine, the community I went to, there was no machine, so they pounded to crush. And those nuts were really dry. So I decided to offer my service on one of the occasions, and I collected the mortar, the pestle, and just one like that, my hand almost flung off my shoulders. It was so hard. I said, wow, is this what you guys do? So there's a lot of work that goes into this. And so you can imagine when it comes to pricing, when they don't really quantify their efforts, they're really cheating themselves. All right? I'll talk very quickly about factors that affect quality, because we talked about quality. That is the proper way to do shea butter in the video. And the women we worked with didn't understand these procedures at all. Usually, the black nuts, they'll put it in the other nuts and blend it that way. They don't sort, they don't wash. Like there are about 3 different washing that goes on here. They only just wash when they come from the farm. Every other thing, even when they dry on the ground, they just go and process it that way. So the final butter would have a lot of impurities. They don't sort at all. It's a big problem. There was a time we were during the project, we told them to go to the farm and pick nuts, because one thing we wanted to see was how they were doing their thing. So we didn't just come and say, this is it, this is it. Go and pick the nuts tomorrow. We'll see how you guys sort so that we can observe. And then they came with the nuts, and then they started sorting, and we're just watching. And they packed all the bad ones with the good ones, and they said they were ready. And so we asked them, you know what? Any nuts that looks like this, we gave them the descriptions, remove them. And they did. And half of what was there was the bad nuts. And the question was, this is a waste. For them, they felt if we remove this much, then we don't have much to take to process anymore. And then we asked them, it's just like, can you eat bad food? We really needed to make them, let it be a daily thing to them. Can you eat bad food? It's just like you want to pick beans. You pick the good beans. You don't put the bad beans in it. And we mentioned to them that shea is food. You eat it. So you have to be careful about that. So they started understanding little things like that. Okay, we shouldn't put the bad nuts. We should, it was a process, but it was a patient one, really, to let them understand some of the angle that we're coming from. So what were the factors that affect quality? These are really bad nuts I've put here. Usually it's the post-harvest stage that's always the problem. So when nuts are cracked and they have holes in them, they're infected by fungi, contaminants from the drying environment, the storage bags, they don't understand the essence of having a well-aerated bag. They just put some nylon bags sometimes, and the whole place, it's just moldy all over. Before they open the bags, the molds on their nuts started to germinate. So they didn't understand all those things. And then storage conditions were also part of it. So these were critical because you needed to make them understand that. Another thing we observed is that usually you don't go and pluck the nuts in the field. The nuts drop, and then the women go to pick it. So the longer the nuts stay on the ground there, insects will bite it, a lot of things will happen, and then they go like 2-3 weeks after the nuts on the ground, and it's already bad, and that's what they pick to take home. So there was the essence of, once you're sure the nuts are dropping, that's the time you should go and pick it. Don't waste time. And these are lessons we need to teach them gradually and let them understand the implication of going late and going early to pick their nuts. But these were really the issues. Now, we'll come to the project I did. We called it the Shea Butter Project under the One Village, One Product. This project was what launched the One Village, One Product in FCT. One Village, One Product was used by Japan in developing their own small-scale industries, especially the rural communities. They looked at rural communities and found products that had comparative advantage, and they focused on developing those products. And then it was a value chain approach also. They added value to those products, packaging and all of that, taking it to the market. And that really helped Japan to develop. So we borrowed the strategy of OVOP, One Village, One Product, and applied it to this project. All right, so we did the shea butter project. Right now we're on cassava, but shea butter was the first one we actually did. And this was really successful. That's our banner there. And the objectives was to empower women, basically. Skill development, education and enlightenment. We wanted to take them through financial literacy. And community development was utmost in all of this. Because when you come to communities to work with them, you see other needs that you can actually solve. And that really helped us. We were able to solve some health needs. A lot of that, we were able to solve. In fact, now, there's a good road that leads to the community now. So I'm very happy that the chairman at least saw a reason why he should develop the road that goes to this community. And then we're also trying to develop production capacity of shea processors. We're trying to create jobs for those that would come into the value chain and do one or two things. And then wanted to encourage stakeholder participation. So wanted to bring in stakeholders to see that, man, there's value in this thing. Let's see how we can work around it. And our activities involved needs assessments because we had to go to the communities to find out the needs. In line with what we had, wanted to measure what are the things that we see needed to be worked on, and how would our strategy be. That was actually important. We did group formation, which was absolutely, in fact, that was the first thing we did. We needed to form women into groups, and we were able to form 167 women into 3 groups in 3 communities, which was very excellent, really. So, and they actually got registered in a local council, so they have been registered, so they have a name. If you call them up in Abuja, you find they're there. Yeye Shea Butter, Sunsuye Shea Butter Association, they were all there. So we had to do this, and we had to take them through organizational dynamics. How do you work together, teamwork, things like that, keeping your records. It was very detailed, really, and it was fun. And we did a lot of role plays while we were at it. We did role plays most of the time. We weren't talking grammar at all. We had to speak in their language. We got interpreters. It was fun. I don't even understand their language, though, but I was always there cheering them on for those that would interpret it. So I was just hoping what was being said or what was interpreted, but I guess it went well. And then we took them on the quality improvement trainings in terms of now quality, which we sorted out, financial literacy, like I mentioned. And then, because we're using manual methods, which if the market shows up now, these manual methods are not going to get them anywhere. Because from picking the nuts from the farm to processing could take up to about 35 days. 35 days, we'll wait for that. So we had to figure out what we can do about this. Can we provide some machines? The crushing part of it takes a lot of time, really, because before you can crush a bowl, you can be there for a week. So we need to find out, can we give them crushing machines so that at least that bowl can be done in just 30 minutes. And then that's just cuts the effort by over 70 or 80%. So we wanted to do all of that. And then we suggested that we'll micro-lease equipment to them if they can pay back. But eventually we told the local government chairman to pay for it, and he did, eventually. But he didn't at first. But when he saw the project was now really booming, he now showed up and wanted to take glory for the project. And I said, sir, sorry, don't even put it in your speech that you supported your women. So he was like, oh, so what do you want me to do? He's like, what do I do to enter the kingdom of heaven? So I told him, you pay for the machines. And you say it at the launch that you're going to pay for it. Commit yourself. And he did, and he paid for it. That was a good strategy. So we had to do that. We had to do that because we also need to involve their leaders. It's important for them to be part of this project with them. And then the marketing and promotion was also there. I'm going to show you very fast pictures. This we saw when these women go to the field to pick the nuts. Because of lack of transportation, they put it in the bags. Now they go late to pick the nuts first thing. They now put it in the bag and keep it at the side of the road for another, God knows how many days, waiting for someone that will help them to go and pick it. It just gets worse by the day. But they have been confined to that condition, really, because of the situation they found themselves. And again, this is where they put the nuts to dry, this is where they put the nuts to dry it. And the new methods that we taught them was that they should sun dry the nuts. Now in drying with firewood, they pour the nuts in this thing, and it's of course, it's some level in there. So at the bottom, some nuts are already burning. Some at the top are not dried. They leave that for about a week. They come back and turn. Then you mix all the burnt one again, and this, And that's why the butter smells so badly. For some of us, there are no real bad shea butter that is produced with this method. So these were some of the things that we wanted to tell them, you know what you have to do. Sun drying is what is expected. If any international market, in fact, it's specified that you're not have to be sun dried. So those are some of the things we wanted them to learn also. And they were able to understand one or two things though. So this was pictures I would show you. This was during the needs assessment. This is one of my staff. His name is Lekon. He went to the market to just ask questions. This lady comes to buy this in the local market from the east for her mother. These are the women. You see this woman counting her money for the day. She has her butter in this big pot. This big pot is so heavy. I'm telling you, 3 of myself cannot carry this pot. I tried it. It wasn't funny. It's really heavy. It's really heavy. And they can only carry one on a bike if they're taking it to the market. So it's also some stress, really, because now they have a store in the market, though, and the person that has the store charges them per day until they finish selling this thing. So the cost of even putting it in the store in the market, some of them don't even count that as a cost. So at the end of the day, when we did the evaluation, we're like, you guys are selling so below. So these are things that the financial literacy brought out, which was very important. And, well, we have, these were some of the parts when we're doing our sensitizations. This was a sensitization campaign. These are all sensitizations when we're also teaching them a few things in group formation. This was me when I was writing. This was the financial literacy class. Then we taught them group formation using exercises. This was the Tower of Babel they were trying to build when we were teaching them about unity. And they built it so beautifully. I've done this exercise with elites. They didn't get it. These local women got it. So you can also see that local women have some intelligence that is unparalleled. Honestly, they have their own kind of intelligence. And we cannot wish that away. So it's important. We're not coming to discard the old. We're trying to just improve on whatever we can find there. And we made them feel very special. We didn't want to let them know, oh, you guys have been doing rubbish. No. We also made them feel important. And there was trust that was built from the beginning. And so they were very cooperative throughout the time we were there. And this was part of the time we were doing the quality improvement trainings. And this was when they were producing their butter. We actually brought this also in that they have to sieve the oil so that they can remove impurities. They don't even do that. We brought in like 2 or 3 methods. After the crushing, the issue of roasting it again, you see the women that were turning this black thing. They don't do that in most of our women here. And one of the things is that when you sun dry, the nuts may not dry completely, honestly. Because the sun at the time, the weather, in fact, this nuts fruit in the rainy season. So they don't have so much sun, really. So that's even a challenge in itself. But then with the little sun they can get, the nuts are not completely dry. So the roasting is important to also dry it a bit. So those are new procedures. And I must say that some of the new procedures that came up, some would raise their hands in the training. It was a full 3 months. And we were living in the communities. I learned to live in rural communities very well with this project. And before I went, I was well prepared for it, that I have to do whatever they want me to do. If they give me any drinking, even in a dirty cup, I should take it with Thanksgiving. I said, oh my God. And they told me to carry the drugs with me if I have a problem. That was fine. But it was fun because I saw that I built trust, that you're even with them in the old procedure. It was excellent. So all these new things, some of them will raise their hands and say, no, my greatest grandmother never showed me this one. How come I should do this? And we had to find a way, to kind of explain and make it their own. They owned, through it all, we wanted them to own whatever was happening. And that we were able to achieve. And then we also wanted them to own part of the project. So it doesn't look like, oh, we just came and imposed something on them and went away. So we told them that they had to contribute to their processing centers because we're going to give them machines. And these women contributed money and built these things themselves. So this community is the best community in the project because before we opened and closed our eyes, the place was up and running. These guys struggled a bit, but they still tried. And men were very supportive. I must give credit to the men in these villages. We had about 6 or 7 of them that would always be there to do interpretation. They were there to make sure they come out for the meetings. Oh no, they were there. That's it. In fact, I relied more on the men than the women at some point because anytime I go back home, I have to, of course, go back to my family. I would always call Eve. I said Eve, sorry. I would always call Paul. His name is Paul or Matthew. I would just call. And you will always just be on top of everything. Even in the terms of building the structure, they were supervising the women themselves. They were excellent people. So I must also give credit to the men. Okay? Men are always supportive of us, I believe. So when we did that, the FCT community, the Federal Capital Territory, got interested in our project, and we had to escalate it to become a state project, really. And they bought into this project. So we did this was like official launching of the Shea Butter project in FCT, which was beautifully done. And this also now really made this popular because it was on the news, it was in the media, it was in the paper. So everybody started knowing about this project, and people started knowing, oh, there are women that produce Shea Butter here. Some people never knew anything like that was even here. When I came back from Ghana from that GSA, I met someone on the plane and I spoke to her about it. She was like, there's Ori in FCT. I said, there are 3 communities are producing. Said, no, she buys it from outside the state. And a lot of people were buying outside the state because they never knew these women were there. So that also gave publicity to the project. And these are the women just dancing and very excited to see the Minister of State. And that's, I had to, this is the native wear in that community, so I had to tie it to my shirt and trouser. The real way of wearing this garment is you wear it without anything. I wouldn't do that. So this day I was talking about the project, and one thing I said that day, because you talk about community development, I told the women that day, I said Rimba community was one obsolete community. Honestly, that day we were going with the big boss. Somebody asked me on the bus, I said, Titi, how did you discover this place? How did you come this far? How? They couldn't even imagine, how did you come to this place? Because nobody knew they existed. And I said, are they not human beings like us? Somebody has to go and help them. You know, it's so amazing. And, you know, I remember the first time I spoke to them in the project, I said, if you do this very well, this village will be on the map. I'm telling you guys. And on this day, it was like a fulfillment of something that we said several weeks ago. So it was JICA was there, GIZ, Central Bank, everybody was there to come and see what has been done on this project. And that was also the day to present their certificates, because we gave them certificates for their associations that we formed. That is our minister of FCT. Her name is Oloye. We call her Oloye. She is an ardent lover of shea butter. Oh dear. When she heard this project was going on, she was like, all her support into it. She uses shea butter like anything. She uses it, she eats everywhere in her house. In fact, I saw that with my eyes, so I know that she had a personal thing about it. And that same day, we launched the machines. So we provided them some machines. There's little machines, really, if you look at it. But we have to bring these women up to speed. We can't just automatically just bring one. We have to take them gradually. Let them even start getting used to some of these things. And these machines were fabricated. It was fabricated by a young man in Niger State. He did all of this, and it worked perfectly well. And the machines are still working till now, because at least I keep track of what's happening. And it was also given because, of course, you can service it if it breaks down. Even the roadside mechanic can just help you fix it. So that we also wanted to give them something for easy maintenance. So the crusher was, because when we came back for our monitoring evaluation, the crusher was one thing they were like, man, that crusher is the miracle of the year. That now, see how we just crush our nuts. We have stopped pounding and our muscles have started going down. So that was really good. And we gave them the diesel engine and all of that. So that was also launched on that day. They also have other businesses in the community. There's a woman that does pots. I think she makes the pots that they use for the shea. So we didn't say don't use pots anymore. The bottom line is this. For people to be able to easily convey your butter from where you are to wherever, this pot is not going to help. They still use their pots to the local market. No problem. We didn't even abolish that in any way. But we introduced new packaging to them. So marketing and promotion. We gave the butter a name. And because in the Gbagi community of FCT, they call it Gbagimi, so we just call it Gbagimi straight off. And then we designed this for them, like the labels and all that. So this was the old one, and now this is what we were able to produce from what they have. So these are transparent buckets. And because it's transparent, they can't hide behind anything. Because the first time we gave them transparent buckets and they produced butter and brought it to my office, a whole lot. We went to buy a whole lot because people wanted it in the town, so we went to pack a whole lot. I just looked at the bottom of the bucket and I saw sand. Oh dear, it was dirty. So I took it back to the community and I showed one of the vice chairman of one of the cooperatives. I said, see what you're producing. She told her, oh, okay. So I said, you see, transparent buckets, you can't hide. You had better do it well. And right now they're producing, that's what they've done. The finest, I tell you, the finest butter. These women have started. And people are buying this. 3 kg, we did 3 kg buckets, 1 kg buckets. Now we have done also 500 grams. And they also give the 10 kg bucket. So we could, whatever way you want to buy it, you can buy it. And one of the things we've been able to do with them is also that we put it on our website. So people also order online. And then sometimes we just go to the community and just buy it off. Because we just have a shop somehow in the office there. And then people just come and say, oh, I need this. And a lot of people have also come up to us and say, I want to deal with shea butter. I want to start a business in it. Can you link me with your women? And this we've been doing. So we have a lot of people now interested in doing business with this. Other things we've done is trade fairs and exhibitions. We take them for this a lot. We publish them in newsletters. And we even do official presentations to stakeholders anywhere we go to about these women so that they will know they're doing something. Currently, we are working on the Shea Butter Village. So we want to look at it like it's just a place where people will come in, process, marketing will be going on there, research can be going on there. It's a village. They call it the SBV. That's the Shea Butter Village. And part of the things we want to do is domestication of local processing within this area. So there'll be processing, there'll be product formulation, marketing, capacity building. So it's like a hub That's what we want to do in this community. And already it's been approved. So we're working with the raw materials department of the FCT to do this, and it's on. This is the Shea Butter Village in Niger State. You can see this is the way it was built. So they have rooms for the marketing, the places for processing and all of that. So that's important. So Shea business empowers women. You can see, okay, let me start from here. This is the processor. Then the woman in the market that is selling it is making his money. This lady, Shea Radiant, she's in the US. She's doing excellently, I tell you. You need to Google her. She's one of the best. She's a businesswoman to the core, I tell you. And her products are selling like anything. Her name is Funlayo. She's here in the US. And then she adds value and produces high value products. And then this is the end user. She's very happy. Her hair is looking kinky, isn't it? She's been using shea butter. All right? So that's Funlayo. These are her products. This is her. She's in Niger State here with the women. So that's Funlayo Alabi. There's another lady. Her name is Shea. Like Funlayo buys from Niger State. The first lady I spoke buys from Niger. Shea is my very good friend. When we started the project, she follows us to the community, and she took so much interest in this thing, and she has started her product line. So she also buys from these are women. And her name is Olori Shea. Say you are royalty. So she's treating you as royalty with her Shea products. We have, what's her name now? Bingpe. She runs the House of Merola. So she also patronizes the women. So this is how we've also created that marketing link to the women's products, buying it off them and then getting those that can turn it into high-value products. And this woman is called Salima. Her name is Salima Makama. She was the immediate past chairman of the Global Shea Alliance. She's from Niger State. She's a businesswoman also. She has interest in real estate and agriculture. She's quite rich, actually. And then she has this caddy processing company. She has also worked a lot with Shea women, and she also does packaging, cosmetics, and she's doing very well. This is the Global Shea Alliance. To let you just know how big it is, this was the one we did in Ghana. Most of these guys here were from Netherlands. Some were from India. This is the vice president of Ghana when we had this alliance conference. So it's a big deal. And the first time I came here, I said, wow. So the whole world is sitting down to discuss shea butter. I couldn't even imagine. This Ori, that our great-grandmothers, hey, the whole world is sitting in a country talking about it. This is serious. After Ghana, they did Burkina Faso. From Burkina Faso, they moved to Abuja. They've done Benin Republic. This year, I don't know where they will hold it, but everybody all over the world gathers there to talk about shea. So to let you see that is a big deal. And the Global Shea Alliances, the importers are there, the investors are there, the bankers are there. I mean, everybody that has interest in this industry, you find them there to show you how important. So it's important that women in the villages understand the importance that this thing is actually gold. It's not anything they can joke with. People are talking about this product in high places. They should understand that part. And when we started letting them know, they were amazed. This is also the Global Shea Alliance. There's exhibitions. We have cosmetic formulation classes during those conferences. We have a lot of things. Those are Malians on their stands. I took them to the one that happened in Abuja last year, and it blew their mind. They saw Europeans, Americans running up and down. They say, hey, Mama Titi, this is it. I said, yes, this is what I've been telling you. Now you understand. There was even some Americans, they came to buy 2 buckets, 3 kg buckets. These women were dancing. Hey, they bought that. I said, okay. They went, I said, now you see. And then, the exhibitions, the women went around, they saw high-value products, they're like, hey, so you can even do this with shea. I said, now you see. They came and met me. Madam Titi, can you also teach us to do that product that we saw there? I said, this is the highest point of education, really, because now you have been enlightened, now you see. And this has changed the way they started thinking. It was even after this they started producing that butter that you saw, because they now took it very seriously. So I also saw the exposure was very important for them. Let them not sit down in their village, just there, no. So that was important. We have challenges here, so I mentioned it earlier. Indiscriminate falling of shea trees. So we are still advocating for legislation. And there's this National Association of Shea Producers in Nigeria. They're also in the forefront of legislation. The rainy season I mentioned earlier, because it's the rains, is a challenge. So the women also complain about that. So we've tried to see whether we can get them solar dryers. I was in touch with a professor, one Nigerian professor that was, he does a lot in solar energy. I was trying to talk, but I lost his contact at some point because I really wanted to see how he can come in to help us. Because they use that one with the fire. You see that it has a roof. That's small hut. So whether it's raining or not, they can go to the market. They know their share is not beaten by any rain. But if they have to put it outside, if they should see the cloud gather, they have to run from the market to come and pack it. So it's a lot of stress. So I was thinking, can I get them machines where they can put them in and all that? Then the degradation of nuts, which they're trying to get over very soon. Then when the women go to the fields, they're exposed to bites because it's in the wild. And we're trying to see what we can do, whether buy them gloves, rubber gloves, and boots and all of that to help them out. And challenges continue, infrastructure, but somehow I'm seeing a bit of improvement here and there, because some partners now that are very serious about dealing with these women are now suggesting, okay, what can I do for the community? Okay, let me put water there, if that will be what will help production. And that is what we want to happen. And so it's also happening gradually. I can see that happen. And the price change also was a problem, because when they take the new butter to the market, the local people there will say, how come this one is sold for 500 per 500 grams? They don't want to buy it. So they started complaining. And I said, one thing is this, you also have to let them know why it is sold at a higher price. This is quality. They didn't understand that part. They didn't know to even tell the people that something has changed. And I said, until you begin to tell them the kind of products that you're selling, nobody would know the value that they can add to it. So these are, and then we want to also take them more education on marketing. Quality assurance still remains a challenge, generally as a country, because importers sometimes just push a lot of things down our throats. Seriously, they want this particular quality, and it keeps changing all the time. So you're like, what do these guys want? So what we're trying to do is, how can we standardize this quality and agree as a country that this is the kind of quality we want to send out? And then whoever is buying from us knows. Some countries don't buy the butter straight off. Some just buy the nuts, and they go and process it themselves. Fine. Some countries buy the butter at a particular grade and still go and refine it. It's fine. Bottom line is they're buying it, and that chain is not broken. And this is what we've seen with this project. These are my women. I would say they were excellent women, truly awesome people, intelligent women, wonderful African women, I tell you. They were wonderful. It was great. And till today, we still talk. And I'll close by this quote by Shea that says that when the history of African development is written, it will be clear that a turning point involved the empowerment of women. If you empower women, you empower the world. That is the truth. I can see these women doing things. One of the women, when we started our program, we asked her, why do you want to make more money with this Shea business? She said, I want to buy a car for my husband. We all laughed, but she was very serious about it. She was absolutely serious. Some said, I want to send my children to school. That was very good. But that car thing, we're wondering, I hope she knows the price of a car. But that was our plan. And really, I can see them doing stuff. I can see them doing things. So when we empower women, we empower the world. And the history of Africa will be written if we do this right. Thank you.